this is my character, Viren. Now, Viren over here is from a short comic that I am working on called Red Pickup. There's relevance to why it's gonna have that name later. I promise. Just let me cook. Let me cook. Now, Viren is actually a race of these humanoid sea creatures I like to call latarians, and she's actually royalty. She's the princess, which is very cool to me. And I know she might not really give off princess vibes besides the crown, which that's a bit of story spoilers. But like I said, read Red Pickup when it comes out and you will know why. Now, let's get back into discussing the latarians, because that's what this video is about. Now, the latarians are a group, well, a species of basically Atlanteans in my world. My inspiration from them came from I'd say like Splatoon, because I wanted to kind of mix sea creatures with human features, but I wanted to like really push that. I didn't want to just like be I wanted to push more than what I normally do. So I kind of have different aspects on them. So like it was Splatoon, sea creatures from Legend of Zelda, some different other type of like shark people. I knew I didn't want to give them noses, so I decided to give them these holes around their body these holes open up when they're on land, and they use it to bring in air and breathe it out. It's like the holes around their body. That's how they breathe when they're on land. And then when they get into the ocean, it closes, and it's the regular, they use their gills and stuff like that to be like regular fish. I had this really cool idea. I haven't drawn it out yet though, but I actually might be able to show it on screen if I have the Millinode page. But basically, I want to give them these type of masks that they use, that they put their magical abilities in to give themselves, like, to keep themselves hydrated with their like water, using like water magic. So yeah. Also, speaking of magic, just because this is a very important thing, specifically when talking about them and just talking about my world in general, the system in my world, it is highly fantastical magical, I'd say, and they specifically can use wind magic, water magic, and of course light magic. They mainly use it when they're hunting, mainly light magic to see in like really dark areas, but also they use the wind magic to make themselves go faster when they're in the ocean to actually catch their prey, to just hunt and everything, and also when they're fighting and stuff. So yeah, and these magical abilities still work just fine on land, but actually they use their wind magic, so they're actually able to fly even though they aren't equipped with wings. They have the ability to fly using their magic, and it's almost like soaring, almost like like what Superman does. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that, honestly. Okay, now let's get into some details about who exactly the latarians are and where they live and just things like that, right? So first off, they live within a very big ocean called Ushio, and they live very, very deep within it, so you have to travel really deep, more than submarines normally can travel to actually get there. They also are the second most advanced species in my world. The reason that is spoilers, so I won't really reveal any of that. But to give some examples of, they don't really have kingdoms like like Atlantis has like castles and stuff all underground. No, it's more like hyper advanced cities underwater. They don't have vehicles or anything like that, but they have, like, skyscrapers and, things you would expect from a super high-tech civilization. But of course things are a bit different because they're underwater, and of course it's a lot of light since they're underwater, so they can see and everything. Now, the reason they don't use vehicles is because, like I said earlier, they use their wind magic to travel around to get everywhere, which goes very, very fast. That's their main use of the wind magic that they use it for. Now, the latarians are the apex predators in their part of the ocean where they specifically live, because it's a great ocean. They're not covering the whole ocean there, but they're covering a big significant part of the ocean, right? So it's pretty calm there. I'd say they're honestly pretty peaceful compared to a lot of other species within my world, definitely. But they also, they do have weapons and everything to defend themselves where things happen, as any species should. I wouldn't say they're cut off from society or anything like that either. Unlike a couple of other species within my world, they do a lot of trading and interacting with the other species in the world. And I don't know if I said this earlier about how it works when they go up to the the sea floor, and when they actually get out the water and everything like that. How the holes in their body, they use the holes around their body to actually breathe. So they breathe in air and let it out, while also wearing these masks when they're on land to keep themselves hydrated, that they infuse with their Duma, which is basically like the mana in my universe to an extent. Another thing is the name, the Great Sea of Ushio, where they live. That is actually named after one of their rulers, which, again, I won't get into too much about that, but yeah, I won't get into too much about that. Now, speaking of rulers, actually, the rulers of the Latarians, because they have kings and queens still. The king and queen are Viren's parents, and Viren and her siblings are the royal family, right? You could kind of think of it like just what you expect from a royal family. I wouldn't say that they're tyrants or anything like that either. I feel like they're pretty chill and pretty, one with their people. They're not like, dictators or anything like that, I would say. Another thing is the Latarians are the apex predators of their part of the Great Sea of Ushio where they live. Now, are there other, split off factions or just complete different species that are like the Latarians? As of writing all this and talking about all this, not as of yet. I do plan to at least have 1 to maybe 2 other species underwater, because I think that would add a interesting dynamic within the ocean instead of it just being peaceful and they're just being the overall rulers. You need that conflict in a story, you know what I mean? Especially when you want to kind of dive more into it later, right? But I'll decide, and if I do that, I will of course talk to you guys about that one. Now, another big thing that I would like to talk about too is, do they have their own currency? Yes, they do. Is it gold? Yes, it's gold. They use these coins that on one side of the coin it has a kraken on it, and then the other side it has a monster like kraken. It's like my own kraken. Then on the other side it has the current Latarian ruler, which would be Viren's father. So yeah, I actually don't know if I want the mom or the dad to be on the back of the coin, but I'll decide that when I decide that. I will also be doing another. I was thinking about doing it in this video, but I'll just do another video on the latarians, specifically their clothing and their armor, because I do want to talk and get into that too, and you know, share that with you guys and everything. So I think I got through the majority of everything. If you have any questions about any of them, or you know, the latarians, what they do, anything specifically that I'm not thinking about answering, go ahead and type it in the comments, and I will try my best to answer the question that some of you have, because I honestly might be forgetting a lot of it. I have a lot of notes for all this, like Google Docs of like all this stuff. Right, that's some of the stuff I actually forgot, because you know, I was looking back with Google Docs, I'm like, is there anything that I might be forgetting a little bit? There is some, you know, very basic questions. So first one, what colors do latarians come in, or are they all the same colors? They specifically come in shades of purple, teal, and dark blue. The reasoning for that, I think it would just be really nice because they're underwater and it just has the good cool colors and stuff, right? Are there any rare colors that they could have, or you know, maybe mixes of colors? Yes, 100%, but it's very, very rare. They also have very, very long tails. As you can see in my art that's going on in the background, they have very long tails. Do their tail get longer with age? I'd say they honestly stay the same. Are there any differences when they get older? Yes, 100%, like all species do. Do I specifically know those specific things when they get older? Not all the way yet, but you know, I do need to look into that a bit. Latarians are also a very athletic species. You won't see any like, you know, overweight ones or anything like that, because you know, where they're at in the sea consists of them hunting and everything. They need to have really, you know, they use their bodies a lot, so they can't have things weighing them down or everything. That's also why when they wear armor only in important places where they can get hurt at, but not everywhere. But their armor is also made from light materials, while also being very, very sturdy. It can take a lot of battle wear and everything. Magic. Now, like, you know, so I was talking about earlier, water, wind, and light magic that they use. Well, water, wind, and light Duma that they use, they very much use it as a tool. And in my universe, a lot of people use it as a tool, and like it's more connected in how they use, like it's more connected and intertwined with their daily life. Like things are powered by magic and stuff like that. It's actually kind of like how bending is in Legend of Korra, where they use it in a lot of their daily tasks, and they also use it for like jobs and everything like that, right? Now, Latarians' city, well, I'll call it a kingdom. Latarian's kingdom is past the crushing limit, at least in my world, which is 70,000 meters deep in the water. It's past that, so nobody can get there with normal means. You need the Latarian to take you through there so they can actually get there, and that's actually why they did that. So you know, not anybody can just enter and just go there. Latarians can suffer, their body can suffer really, really strong pressures of the water, unlike everyone else within the world. Now, of course, the reason they do that is because they do hunting, and also what helps a bit is not just their bodies, but they use their magic. They use their wind magic to kind of, I guess, push against the pressure that's pushing against them. So yeah. That's my reasoning for how they are able to withstand that pressure. Another thing also is latarians are actually the apex predators of the Great Sea where they live. Now they're specifically the apex predators mainly because of intelligence. They're the few or singular intelligent species on that level that can actually communicate with the rest of the world and have their own language and have their technology very, very developed. Honestly, I'd say the latarians are really strong, yes, because of their intelligence, but also they're unusually strong. Like, they have very much super strength and they can swim really, really fast because of their tails, but also because they use the wind in the ocean to boost themselves and go further. Well, it's less of them using the wind in the ocean and more of using their magical abilities to actually make themselves go faster, which they also use to fly when they're on land, which it's kind of like what Superman does, but they can also do hovering. So they just basically have flying abilities, but they use their magical abilities to be able to do that. Speaking when they're on land, they have these. Okay, so when they get out the water, they have these holes that open up around their body, specifically on their arms, legs, and their chest, and they have one on their neck that actually help them breathe when they're on land, because their gills and everything, that they're not meant to breathe on land, so they're not gonna be able to. So to be able to breathe on land, they have these holes that open up through it inserts air through their body while also breathing it out. And they also have these masks normally when they go on land that keeps them hydrated so their skin doesn't dry out. And how they do that actually is they fill these vial canisters they have, they're already empty, and they use their water magic to put magic into it, but they don't have to worry about like mana reserves or anything like that, because it literally barely takes anything to do it. Because for my system of magic, and it's called Duma, but how my system of Duma works, which is their magical abilities, it's like example, right? The more you can imagine something, it's like a Green Lantern ring. It's like how Green Lanterns make constructs. If you can imagine something, it makes it more like hardcore and sound for it to work, right? And it makes it more stronger. So it's really based off of your imagination, right? Sometimes it kind of comes second nature, so it's like something I don't really have to think about. It's like breathing, right? With it's a certain level to it that everybody in my world can use, and it's like breathing to them. For the latarians, the way they use light magic, water magic, and wind magic is basically like breathing. It's like second nature because it's like woven into themselves, into their DNA. But back on the masks, they basically use these masks to hydrate themselves, and the masks are like gas masks with vials on the side of it that protrude outwards. So yeah, and it lasts for a very, very long time before they have to refill it. Now about the Latarian's kingdom, I haven't drawn it out yet, so I can't really explain what it will look like. I guess they have skyscrapers kind of like cities, but it's not exactly like that. They have a lot of like gold accents and white, and like gold and white accents, and it looks very high-tech sci-fi. I can't really explain it good enough for you to really get it in your head to understand. So when I actually draw that and do some little building designs, I'll show you exactly what I mean. They also, since they're underwater, just to clarify this because nobody realizes, they don't use vehicles, right? They don't use vehicles to drive around or anything like that. They don't have boats to go on the land. They literally just use their wind magic, since they can just do that. Like, that goes faster, so why use something that's slower, right? Latarians are a very peaceful species. They do trading and interactions with the other kingdoms within the world, but they're notably very peaceful. I wouldn't say they're like, you know, like monk peaceful or whatever. Like they don't believe in violence or anything like that. They're just very peaceful because like violence, them doing violence is like their second thing they think about. Like the second thing that they think about, their second choice, it isn't really their first choice. But they will defend themselves if they need to. And they are also very defensive about outsiders coming into their waters unpronounced. So normally, you know, you have to like send a letter, or you have to you know, let them know beforehand. But you're thinking how would, you know, they people let them know that are on land? I'd say honestly they'll most likely be using a drone to come up and send back. And you know, they also have like devices like phones exist in my world or everything like that, stuff like that. Like they have communication abilities. Oh, speaking of communication abilities, whatever I actually got to say, which even if it's a, you know, like, oh, of course trope, I do want them to communicate and have like telepathic stuff. And yes, they have it with like fish and stuff, but it's less of them understanding what they're saying, and it's more of feeling the emotion of the animal specifically. Now with humans, it's just the same thing. They can't really read their mind, but it's more of they can feel what another living organism is feeling. Are there certain levels to it? Yes, but it doesn't go within the range of them understanding telepathically what someone is saying or thinking or anything like that. It's solely emotionally. Another thing that I was actually thinking about doing, which I'm not sure if I want to do this yet, is because I was thinking about, well, no, they wouldn't really need that because like I said, they don't have predators, so there would be really no reason they would adapt that unless they used to have predators. I'm still thinking about it, but what I'm talking about is giving them the ability to change their color to blend in with their surroundings, right? Like the whole light reflection thing that chameleons have. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna definitely think about it. I'm not exactly too sure. Now, back on to, actually I forgot to say this. The latarians are second most advanced in the world. I want to say first, but I'll say second. No, I like first better. No, I'd say first. I'd say at the top. Another thing is specifically about them being peaceful is the reason they are peaceful and the reason nobody else messes with them or thinks about like, oh, let's steal this or try to, you know, mess with them or anything, is because they have such a sheer quantity of them. Like it's so many of them that the other kingdoms don't really want to mess with them because it's just so many of them in numbers. Like they literally outnumber a lot of them. And you know, they also can't get to them, so they can't really do anything about it. They kind of just have to sit and just watch and just be peaceful and communicate with the latarians. Another thing I also want to say about the holes around their body, when they get into the ocean, these holes close back up like they weren't really there, right? They close back up enough to where there's no water that can get into them, right? And their gills open back up. I don't know where I would put their gills at. I didn't think about that actually. I think I honestly might either put them on their waist or on their neck, but I'll decide. Actually, I might do something different, put them on their back, but I'll decide that. But basically, either way, their gills open up when they're in the water and they close when they're on land. Another thing is, I know you noticed in my drawing that the latarians don't really have hair. It's more of like a squid-like texture that they have, so it's very squishy and they're able to shape it and everything like that. It's not no type of organ or anything like that, so if they cut it off it won't hurt them or anything like that, but they also do grow out very fast. it isn't. They don't have any like special thing with their hair. They can usually just wear their hair the way they want. But that's really the only difference. I was actually inspired by Splatoon with their hair to an extent. I don't exactly know if that's how it works, but I seen that and I'm like, I kind of like that idea. So I'm using and kind of making my own thing to an extent. Another thing is, I know you see that the tips of their squid like hair, I'll just say hair, are a different color. That's, you can think of that like a marking. It's not really something that they put on their body purposefully or anything like that. It's just something that's just there, and it's based off of the actual color that they are of their skin. Another thing that I also did, which you probably noticed, is they have tattoos. I wanted to do something like tribal tattoos on them too, like different markings and everything like that. Another thing I actually forgot to say is latarians have scales, and normally animals have scales because it helps them protect them. Now in the drawing, I wanted to put them in the important parts, like the very vital soft areas where they don't have a lot of muscle to protect themselves. So that's why the scales are, on their stomach, on their knees, on their elbows. I might put some on their neck and like their inner thigh area too, because I kind of forgot about that part. But yeah. What's the other thing I was gonna say? Oh yeah, their armor. Now, of course, they need to wear armor when they're fighting and everything like that. Their armor is very, very strong and can take a lot of battle damage, but it might look heavy, but it's not heavy. It's very light wall, so being able to take a lot of damage, and it takes a lot to penetrate and everything. Another thing that you probably noticed earlier in the video with one of the characters is they have very, very sharp teeth. Their teeth can bite through metals and rocks and of course flesh and everything like that. I was inspired to do their teeth like that because I was inspired to do it like piranha teeth. So that's why they have a ton of teeth, and that's why it's super sharp, because they use their teeth for when they're hunting and just fighting too, but mainly hunting. Now, as we're coming closer to the end of this, I have a couple more things I want to say because I thought about this. Which I actually didn't know this, but I could use it if it makes sense. Okay, so I wanted to give them snake-like tongues, right? But I realized that snakes actually use their tongues to sense vibrations, and as a way to hear to an extent, or to at least help them hear and everything. And I think I want to incorporate that somehow. I don't exactly know how I'm gonna incorporate that to how they're them living and stuff like that, but I'm gonna figure it out. But I actually see that fish have, I guess what they're called here, they have something called ear stones that are like behind the brain that helps them, that amplifies sounds like drums almost in their ears. Like their ears are almost like drums where they use it to hear things, and I want to incorporate that too, but I'm gonna figure it out because they don't have ears. The last little bit of latarians I want to say is about the personality and what you expect from them. They're very confident. They're of course very smart because they have all those advancements and everything. They are very arrogant and also self-absorbed and also very territorial. They aren't mean people or anything like that, but I guess you could say they have a very high sense of self. Like they think of themselves as higher in certain areas than a lot of other people, especially when it comes to brains, and of course that is a very negative trait. And I don't know if it is, but of course, as clear as day when I explained it before, they're very territorial. Yeah, that's pretty much all though. I think I covered everything. I mean, besides their claws, of course they use their claws for hunting, so I feel like that was kind of a self-explanatory thing. And then a little fun thing is their tails are bioluminescent. The little markings, specifically the little tattoos they have, use this like bioluminescent like gel type of stuff to put on their skin, and of course it dries, but it also works as a way to glow when they're in the deep dark depths. So yeah, I covered everything though. Yeah, I covered everything. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was very informative. I hope it was interesting and it kept your attention. If you would like to see more content like this that is on my channel, that are about my characters, my world, exactly what I'm building, and just, you know, heck, I'm not even just gonna do content like this. I'm gonna also do content of, like, you know, just different things, but it's mainly gonna be about my world, my characters, and my short comic and everything like that. So yeah, let me know if you guys know anything else besides that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, enjoy the rest of the speed paint, and I will see you guys at the next one. Alright, I forgot one last thing. I am also I'm still working on it, excuse me, but I am working on a Patreon, and I also have a TikTok, and just all my socials will just be pop up on the screen in a few minutes, well, a few seconds, and you should see them all right here near the end of the video. So yeah, that's actually all. I will see you guys in the next one, and Merry Christmas.